it's all in the game. It's all in the game. You have winners and losers, and you just got to take your L, dude. I mean,
yep,
that's just kind of what it is. So
he's the Atlanta Falcons with a 28-3 halftime lead there.
That's really what it felt like, right? I felt like 28-3, like they're gonna close it out, and then it didn't. Then they came, Biden came back just like the Patriots did, and it's insane to see how it came down, but understandable.
Thank you for downloading and listening to West Box Score. I'm Alex Gonzalez, joined by Donald Paz. What's up, Donald?
Yo, what's going on, Alex? How you been, brother?
I've been good, man. I've been, actually, to tell you the truth, been celebrating a little bit. As you know, we talk about on West Box Score here. A little bit of politics. We don't delve deep into it because, of course, we're not Joe Rogan and we don't know everything about politics the way he does, as he claims to know. We're just regular. We're just citizens watching the progress of the political democratic election. And what do we see? What happens? A clean, clear win for Joseph Biden Jr. Right? I forget his middle name at this point.
Yeah,
right now, but
me neither.
But it's one of those things, man. Look at this guy won the election fair and square. You can recount all you want, but that's the truth. That's what happened. That's all of our politics stuff. Donald, what do you think? Did he win fair and square, or do we need a recount?
No, I think he won fair and square. I think I've had enough conversations over the weekend since the announcement yesterday to kind of break it down like a sports game.
Right.
And that, the strategy that Donald Trump pulled of not getting people to vote by mail definitely backfired. I think that for me, it felt like, coming into it, even with coronavirus out of the way, I felt that Trump had like a 3-1 lead in the series. And I think a lot of us kind of were okay. Like, I think a lot of us were ready for 4 more years. Like, mentally, we're like, like this guy, of course, like the Democrats don't look like they have anybody. They're going with Joe because he's like the most obvious, like moderate, like choice and, like very establishment, But, man, very surprising that a lot of people turned out and they voted for him. And he kind of took it. I feel like, I don't think it's a steal by any stretch of the imagination, but I do feel that the strategy that he did, that slow and steady strategy really worked, whereas Trump just kind of shot himself in the foot with all this conspiracy theory. Like, I guess he thought QAnon was going to bail him out and get him the win or whatever, and it didn't. And I think that's just what happened. And I think it's all in the game. It's all in the game. You have winners and losers, and, you just got to take your L, dude. I mean, that's just kind of what it is. So
he's the Atlanta Falcons with a 28-3 halftime lead there.
That's really what it felt like, right? I felt like, 28-3, like they're going to close it out. And then it didn't. Then they came, Biden came back just like the Patriots did. And it's insane to see how it came down, but understandable.
Real quick, like sort of sport, because in the end of the day, it's kind of like sports and when the whole election day numbers come out. And it's very much the way he beat Hillary Clinton in 2016 is like, well, I won because I campaigned in the right spots and it's all about the electoral college. Even though he lost the popular vote, that's what he claimed. That's why he won. And now it came back to bite him the other way. And now he's upset about it, which I find so hilarious.
Yeah, exactly. And it's insane, right? You think of all the little details, all the little things that went right for him the last time around, and how this time it all just kind of blew up in his face. It's insane, but it's so true, man. Like you said, he's calling it out as like, but I still am pretty popular, amongst America. So, sorry, man. It was interesting, though. I will say this: it was interesting seeing Fox News kind of call it, and kind of was in this mode where, I don't know, to me, it just felt like the first time we're seeing an election run post Roger Ailes. And I feel like it was a completely different outlook in that end. And it was just crazy to see that. I think that those were the little things that Trump needed to win. He needed a Roger Ailes. He needed a Steve Bannon. And he didn't have that this time. So,
he didn't have his head coach with him, man.
No. It's like a boxer without their best trainer,
Yeah. Exactly, man. Very sports-like in a sense, man. But at the end of the day, no matter who you voted for and no matter who's in office, remember we all are on the same team. This is the United States. We want it to thrive. We want individuals to to have their best opportunity to do the best thing that they can. This obviously being the land of opportunity, as you know, let's do the best for each individual and make the best of your opportunities when you get them. But the point is, give fair opportunities to every individual. And that's kind of what we're hoping for in this country. Things aren't going to change overnight. This is just the beginning of the democratic process. I hope a lot of people who are now more engaged in voting continue to be so. I mean, look up every race in your district, every race in your local community, because that's really what's going to affect you the most is your local government. So keep involved in the democratic process. It's going to help you in your entire life. No matter how disenfranchised you feel about the government, it's very important that you continue to follow politics and try to understand it, because that's really the hardest thing about is understanding the process. I mean, just look at our current president. Doesn't understand the process. So he's going to complain about it more than understand it. But let's get it. And if you notice, Donald and I are just going off on a tangent about everything. It's because our good friend Sonny and Mano not here today to fact check all the stuff we're saying. So I'm sure he's listening. When he does listen to this, he's going off yelling at us. I can hear him already now. We're just going off on a tangent. Like, I'm going to fact check this and that once I get here. So check out next week and hear all of our retractions once Sonny and Mano is back here. So now we can finally get into actual sports, the world of sports here in on West Box Score. Donald, the big matchup today was the Chargers-Raiders AFC West rivalry matchup. And I was looking forward to this because my Freudian slip there, Sonny. My 49ers were on a bye. Check that out, Sonny. That's for you. My Rams were on a bye, but the 49ers had already played this week on Thursday night. They lost to the Packers, as Sonny called. He wasn't expecting them to win, but his 49ers did take the L. My Rams were on a bye. So all we had this week, really, on this Sunday night, were your Chargers, Donald. And I was pulling for your guys. And what happened between that rivalry game between the Chargers and Raiders, man?
Well, with the Chargers and the Raiders, every time there's a division game, it's never a game you got to sleep on. They're always contentious. They're always, pretty dramatic for the most part. And I think this one pretty much topped the drama for sure. The Chargers decided to come in, and instead of being in the lead and blowing it, they decided, why don't we give the lead and just try to do the walk-off home
Hell
run.
Yeah, I like it. Change it up.
I was nervous and I was excited and I was thinking, oh my gosh, what if they pull it off? Especially after the 2-minute warning and you saw that final drive. But unfortunately, due to VAR screws us over. So I'm pulling analogies from all these different sports. That's
as
how
we do
a lot
here.
of this. But man, valiant effort by the Chargers. Right now, currently sitting at 2-6. It seems like they're pretty much done as far as postseason, any type of postseason happening for them. I think that's just mathematically, it's pretty hard to come back from that. But yeah, man, I mean, the Raiders, man, credit to them. They're always tough to play with the Chargers. Right. For as much as I know, people like to count them out. And I know for the most part, most seasons and not, they tend to not be that great. Mm-hmm. But man, they're really hanging in there this season for sure. So I think they're definitely them and the Bills, I want to say, are the two teams that I'm pretty convinced are going to make the playoffs. And, the Bills look really good today too, which was pretty But man, the Chargers, man, they really let me down. They just found another way to break my heart, pretty much. They were just like, yeah, man, I feel for Justin Herbert. I think that for the most part, when you blow the lead, you tend to blame the defense because they're the ones that are supposed to keep the lead. They're supposed to be ones that keep the other team from winning and scoring. But in this situation, it just felt like you didn't know who to blame. You want to blame the offense for not getting that touchdown. But the thing is that the last two plays were catches that were at the end zone, and they both just did not, hold on to the ball. And it was just sad to see that unfortunately that's just the way the cookie crumbled for the plays. And I'm sure if they could have it back, they'd probably want to run something different than the outside slants that they did in the end zone. because you don't give your receiver enough space to bring the ball down. And they tend to just go out of bounds. Mike Williams got hurt really bad. Like he was shaken up pretty bad. I had him on my fantasy team, so I definitely needed that touchdown.
Right.
But man, hopefully he's good. But yeah, that last play was really heartbreaking, especially because I was celebrating with them. The minute they made it, I was like, yes, we did it. We finally overcame, a deficit. And no, they did the booth review, and the review was like, no, he didn't have possession of the ball coming down. And now I'm reading on Chargers Twitter, there's all this stuff going on about how dumb of a rule it is. Like if he was already down by the knee, then it should have just been the touchdown already. But because he fell and the ball wasn't really in his possession anymore, then they just decided to, overturn it. And that's just unfortunate, And I think this is one of those things where the NFL is going to have to look at, how these things are going to be ruled out, because it did feel a little unfair,
Yeah. I felt weird about that Mike Williams play because I feel like he had possession of the ball, both feet in the end zone for a touchdown, but yet they ruled it an incomplete pass. And I could not understand why that wasn't reviewed and looked at, especially while Mike Williams was injured, had all that time, while he was injured on the field there. Why wouldn't the VAR look at that play? Do you know why, Donald?
Yeah, I think I remember him grabbing the ball, and I think between him and the last play, it was very obvious that he had it with both hands, and he brought it down with both hands. And you're right, I do remember both his feet were still inbound, and he had the ball in both his hands. It didn't look like he lost possession at all. But for whatever reason, when you fall on the floor, if you don't look like you still have possession, then it doesn't count. I think it's kind of weird given that like you're at the end zone. Like there's no more field for you to like kind of like say that, oh, okay, like at that point, you and the defender know there's no more field left. Of course, you're going to let the ball fly wherever you want. At that point, you're thinking, oh, I hope they just called a touchdown at this point. I already did my part. And then they didn't. And I think that's the only thing that was kind of weird, that both those plays were pretty similar. Yeah. The same place, they were thrown in the same area. Yeah. And insane to think that they both got, called back and were said, no touchdown or incomplete pass. It felt weird. I think the Mike Williams one was definitely more convincing of a touchdown play.
I agree. The last play, I felt he did lose possession. You see the ball hit the ground while he's like hitting the field at the same time. So it's like, okay, that one you could kind of you could rule it an incomplete pass. That one may be more so. But you shouldn't even have gotten to that play to begin with, because that Mike Williams catch was a touchdown. And that's why I was heartbroken for you, especially more so because you guys should have won the game already on the previous play. And then the gusto by your offensive coordinator to go for the exact same play. It's like, man, that takes guts, man, to just like, we got it the first time. We'll do it again the second time. And you kind of did, but just didn't hold on to it. So it's like, that's so heartbreaking. And I think Sonny had these comments, and Arash Markazi here on Twitter says, for the Chargers are the most exciting 2-6 team in NFL history, for whatever that's worth. And it's like, damn, dude, it's true, man. I've been enjoying your guys' games, and because they're coming down to the wire like this every game. And it's so heartbreaking that you guys are coming out on the wrong end of it. And you kind of just hope it builds character for the team next, like just like improves your guys' morale in the sense for like, we've been through worse. Like, we'll like, you know what I mean? Like, just be stronger. Yeah. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger, you hope. Exactly. And you guys are just going to bounce back. If you guys, it's a little, maybe clock's running out for this season, but hopefully next season, just, what we've been through a lot, and we're going to get through this. We're going to get through whatever we got to get through next season, man. I'm feeling for you, man.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that, for the most part, the season, I think at this point, you should just kind of like start, doing like everything you play from now on, you're doing it just to evaluate for next season. We're already past the halfway point. So, I mean, you're going to need a miracle to go on. Like, you would have to go like on an unbeaten streak in order to have a shot. And it's just tough to see that with this team so far, because it's not a complete team. Joey Bosa was out, which is a big part of it too, defensively. Joey Bosa being out, I know some of our running backs were out too. Tremaine Pope was out with the concussion. So it's just not the same. Even Derwin James being out through training camp was already a hard blow as it is. And now we're seeing the repercussions of what happens when you have key guys out. So yeah, it's just tough. I mean, they're definitely doing their best to truck along, and they definitely are pretty exciting offensively, Justin Herbert. But yeah, it just feels like you definitely need the complete team to be there for there to be a good run to happen. And I don't think we're going to get that this season. So
exciting team to watch nonetheless, man. So at least you got that. At least you got that for these next couple of games, which you guys are going to Miami next. So be careful.
The Dolphins.
Be careful out there on the sidelines there. I know from my Rams time there, the Rams game a couple of weeks ago that the Miami Dolphins like to play dirty on the other side of on the roadside, on the visiting sideline. So it's gonna be hot. So look out, man.
Yeah, it should be fun. Tua versus Herbert.
Nice. A couple of the big rookie matchup there.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm looking forward to.
I mean, at this point, we're just watching the games for fun, man. That's all we're watching.
For real.
I don't know how much fun I'll have, though, watching my Rams take on the Seahawks on a Sunday afternoon at SoFi Stadium. I'm a little worried for that one, but I'm hoping a good Rams team shows up because that would give us a lot of promise the rest of the way if we could finally win a divisional game. But I'm a little worried for that one, too. All I want is a good effort by my team. Good effort. Although the Seahawks did lose this week, so I'm hoping
Bills Mafia took care of them.
Yeah, man, that Bills team is legit. So look out. I hate that. I still hate their quarterback. That big beast over there, Josh Allen. I hate you. 3 touchdowns he threw today. Man, I want him tested. I want USADA to go pay him a visit. I think he might be on the juice. But to be honest, he's just a big beast of a guy. So
yeah. Well, the Rams have an interesting schedule coming up too. They got Seahawks. They got Buccaneers. Tom Brady.
Yes.
That should be a good one. And then 2 divisional games after that: Niners and Cardinals.
This is the stretch that's gonna see what these Rams are made of. This is that 4-game stretch. If they come out of it 2-2, we're still gonna be confused as what Rams team this is. But if they're 3-1, 1-3, then okay, this is that Rams team we were expecting. So I mean, that's all. That's what's gonna happen. They'll go 2-2, and we'll still won't figure out what Rams team this is because they're the Rams, and they're gonna more questions than answers after this 4-game stretch, I'm sure. But I mean, I want effort. That's all I want. We always talk about that, Donald. We want effort from our teams.
Yeah, no, exactly, man. But it's a fun football season overall.
Fun football season in the American football side of West Box Score. Now we go on to the other football side, and it's where we're talking about effort. The LA Galaxy's season effortless season is finally come to an end on Sunday with a 3-0 loss against Vancouver Portland FC. They were playing against the Vancouver Whitecaps in Portland. And another red card for Julian Araujo there. I believe that was his second of the season. The star DP Chicharito came on at halftime. Donald, what did you see from this LA Galaxy effort or lack thereof in this match?
Man, I think similar to the last time there was a red card on this team, which I think was against LAFC, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it was.
It just felt like, with 10 guys, they're not gonna do much. Like any team would always be down with 10 guys. Like you have a disadvantage, but even more so with this Galaxy team that it really isn't. It's not put together right. It's not a team that's put together right, and you're seeing everything you can. I know Pavon was doing as much as he could to kind of like get something going. Couple shots being done, and it just felt like it just wasn't going their way at all. So, man, it was pretty. I mean, I guess I don't want to get too crazy emotional about it because I know it's the last game of the season, but it was just one of those things where it's like, would have been nice to at least go out with a win, just to say like, hey, you know what? Like at least we did this. Post Guillermo Schelotto, we at least gave an effort and went unbeaten. Even if it was a draw, but they definitely gave up. The red card was huge in terms of with 10 guys, Galaxy are just not as threatening. But yeah, no, it was overall. I just felt that I don't know. The game was pretty lull to me.
Oh my God, yes. It was hard to watch.
It is hard to watch, and I think that when Vancouver's scoring, it just even made it harder because it just felt like less of a, man, do I really have to watch this? But of course, I wanted to watch it. It was the last game of the season, and I don't want to come off like I'm gonna come on this podcast and talk like I didn't really see it, or I didn't pay attention to what was going on. But yeah, based off just what I was seeing on the field, it just felt like a lull.
And this is for our weird fandom, right? Like we sat through that entire entire terrible season, entire terrible match, and we're a real fan because we did that, So that way, when they eventually, if they ever win a championship, we're like, yeah, this is for us. We deserve it. Our team is great now, and they're champions because we suffered through them throughout the highs and lows of as being a fan of theirs, because that's what it's all about in fandom, is just sticking to your team no matter how crappy they are sometimes. And it's as sports fans, I've always made this analogy, man. We're drug addicts, man. We're chasing that dragon. We're chasing that high of a championship. But a lot of times, man, we're just gonna be going through withdrawals of not having a winning team, man. There's only one team that's a champion throughout in every sport, in every league, and that's not going to be you a lot of times. That's not going to be your team a lot of times. So we're just going through it. I mean, the Galaxy need to have a lot to look. They have a lot to work on. They have to clean house. Obviously, a lot of players need to be moved. Management need a new head coach. I mean, where do you start first, Donald? Do you start with players or do you start with the head coach?
I think I would start with players, just because I feel like the head coaching thing can't be too much of an overthought. You know what I mean? They can't be overthinking the head coaching situation. Like if it was up to me, like right now, I would just give it to Dominic Kinnear just to kind of get it out of the way. You know what I mean? Just to say like, okay, we got the coach taken care of. And then I would go for the right roster that you need to win, because I think that overall you don't have a lot of time, especially right now with COVID. Like you don't have a lot of time to go and interview and go through all these like loops and hoops and all that just to like get who you think is the right guy. Because I feel like that's what happened with the Guillermo hire. It's just a lot of stuff was going around about like who they were going to get. And of course they were seeking like coaches that came from like winning clubs and all that. And I'm not saying that's not an important thing. That, you do need a coach that knows how to win. But they really overthought it, and it was just huge, like back and forth. And then finally Guillermo agreed, and then they agreed. And, it was this huge thing. And like anything, we always, romanticize the idea of like, oh, like this is the guy that's going to help us because he got Boca to the finals, and that's kind of like what you hang on to, which I think is a little bit, I think as soccer fans, we do that a lot even with players, like when Yoni Gonzalez came in, it was this huge, like, oh my gosh, this is the guy that's going to save the club from, what it was going through. And then it took forever to get him here because of all the, the legal stuff, with the permits and everything. Yeah. And then you got coronavirus on top of that. And then you do that. And then he's on. And he's been on for the last couple of games, but nothing crazy as far as like it didn't turn anything around. And, we got all crazy hyped about it. And then it didn't really turn anything around. And I just feel like we tend to do that a lot. So I think that with the coaching situation, just don't do that. Just get who you feel is the best and who you can get, the guy that can kind of get the ball rolling already. If it's Dominic Kinnear, then it's Dominic Kinnear. Then at least you can already start having meetings right now about what do you think he needs to do to what his ideas are for like a roster for next season. Who do you think we can move? Who do you think we can trade? Who we can let go? Who can buy out? Things like that. Yeah. Because there's not going to be a lot of time between now and the next season to start. The time flies in the off season. So I think that's just, that's what I think, that they should start looking more towards the player side than the coaching side.
And there's so many question marks to even know when that next season will start. Like, will it start in March? Will it start later? There's a lot of questions here, man. It's just like, exactly. I think you're right. I like giving Dominic Kinnear maybe a 1 year up, chance at being the head coach here. you were saying,
Yeah.
like we talked about in the previous cast, he's a proven winner, at least in MLS. And guess what? He's coaching in MLS. Just give him a shot for 1 year. It's especially a weird COVID, off season still to come. We need that right now. We need at least somebody at the helm who's been experienced with the league. You might as well do that and just really try to figure out your players. Have maybe potentially one DP spot opening up, a designated player spot. We're at the strong possibility we're going to lose Christian Pavon, which is sad because that was the best player on our team the whole year.
Yeah,
he played every match. I believe he played every minute this season. I don't remember him ever being subbed out. Like that's the one consistency you have in this team. I mean, for good or bad. I mean, look at the result they had, but at least he put in some effort. And yes, he'd get double teamed and triple teamed because that's the only threat the Galaxy had. And you need something else. You need another midfielder. You need some more help with him, and it's probably not Yoni Gonzalez. I don't think he gets brought back next year, but maybe it's just a lot of that was him being out of shape from not playing the entire year until he got to MLS, because a lot of his shots on goal were nowhere near the goal when he'd get clean looks. I mean, he had no goals and 1 assist in the 9 matches he played, and he would always be subbed out, obviously, because he's not in 100% playing shape. So I just, there's a lot of question marks. Goaltender needs to be looked at as well. Defense needs to be looked at. I mean, I don't know if you could swap out 11 guys and bring in new 11 guys. That might be a little bit too much to ask, but it almost feels like maybe that's what's necessary. But of course, that's not going to happen. But it's just like, man, where do you start? Where do you finish? A lot of work for Dennis Declosa there for our Galaxy, man. LAFC, though, doing a little bit better. They're in the playoffs, right? And big ups to Diego Rossi there, the Golden Boot winner for 2020. I love the way right away LA Galaxy fans on Twitter are such trolls because he scored 14 goals, obviously, to win the Golden Boot. Like, is that the lowest amount of goals to win the Golden Boot? Like, yeah, of course, dude. It was a short season. Come on. There's no need to troll that, dude. It's this weird COVID 2020 season, and I gotta say, man, anytime you win anything in this 2020 season, there's gonna be like this quote unquote asterisk next to it because of the short season. But I think the asterisk just say, hey man, you had to win it during a tougher season almost, because it's just odd. Yeah. It's just an odd way to play this year. And and obviously I'm somewhat selfishly saying this because our Dodgers and Lakers won championships during this year. So maybe there's a bit of bias as I was running today, my virtual 10K for the Dodgers run, which Donald, you're also going to run too, right?
Yeah. I gotta do my run and post it
for sure. Or else you gotta post it to social media, or else it didn't happen. You know that.
Yeah, exactly.
Pixar didn't happen, but no. As I was running my virtual 10K this morning around the park I live near, it's a 10K with you get a medal at the end, but it feels weird to run without like that little. Those other people running next to you and the crowd of people watching you, like kind of cheering you on. I always laughed at that. Like, what are you doing? What are you guys doing here? You're just here cheering on your friends, which like that's so unnecessary. But I would always like give them the thumbs up when they cheer for me running by. Like it actually did feel like something. So today doing that, like, hey, you know what? I got a medal too during this COVID 2020 season. So this medal means a lot to me now because I had to do it with no fan support. Like I know what those players felt like in the bubble without fans, like it just means a little something in athletics to do something in a weird 2020 season that doesn't feel the same. So big ups to LAFC, Diego Rossi for winning the Golden Boot. And I mean, they're in the playoffs now, and whoever wins the MLS Cup is gonna be a team that deserves it, man, by having to win it in a weird season without fans in their stadiums. I mean, most of them didn't have it. And who knows what's going to look like. I don't know, Donald, if you have in front of you what the playoff calendar is going to look like. We don't know when LAFC is going to play, but we'll talk about that here on West Box Score, because I'm sure Sonny is going to give us the breakdown on why they're going to win the MLS Cup this year, right?
Yeah, exactly. I think just based off the standings right now, it looks like they'll be playing the Seattle Sounders.
Uh-oh.
So it should be interesting. There is no date yet, but it feels just based off the numbers that I see, the LAFC would be playing the Sounders in the first round. So yeah, but definitely we'll love to preview that next time around when we do it.
We have to, man. Sonny will be on definitely for that one to talk about exercising the MLS Cup playoff demons against the Seattle Sounders. Some revenge potentially, hopefully for them for 2019. I can't wait to hear how he feels about that. It's so crazy to see the Sporting KC is number 1 in the Western Conference. And so Philadelphia Union won the Supporter Shield. So big ups to Philadelphia Union over in the East. But Sporting KC, I was excited to see them play this year because they got Alan Pulido, who played previously for Chivas Guadalajara. And he's a goal machine, man. He was the Golden Boot winner for the 2019, I believe it was, for Chivas Guadalajara. So I'm like, this guy's legit. And I kind of wanted the Galaxy to go after him. I was hoping they would. But it's kind of, and I knew they wouldn't because that's not the big splash the Galaxy are used to. And look at, and who did they go after? A bigger splasher signing in Chicharito. And I wonder how it would have been different if it had Alan Pulido came over to the Galaxy instead of Chicharito. I mean, what do you think, Donald?
I mean, I think it would have been cool to see someone that can actually play like, more lights out. And I think that's what I'm hoping for this offseason with the Galaxy, that they eventually start to, especially the front office, I hope they start to realize that, like, it doesn't have to be, sexy all the time. It could be just something that produces results, So I know that the Drew League, the amateur basketball league that happens in the offseason for the NBA, not the NBA, but a lot of players that tend to be good playing it, their motto is no excuse, just produce,
Nice.
And I think that's kind of what I want to see the Galaxy stop with the excuses and just start producing,
I like it,
and start to look for a good talent, man. I mean, you have a scouting department, But hopefully they eventually wear off this whole like Hollywood vibe that they like to carry.
Right. I mean, look, we already have the big name here. Chicharito's your big draw. That's your star attraction. Fine. Let's build a team around him now. I mean, we're stuck. He's gonna be playing here until he decides to, retire early is what a lot of people hope for. But man, he's our guy. He's on the field for us, man, when he's healthy. I mean, he's got a lot to work on. He's admitted as much. I mean, that's the first step, is admitting you have a problem and working toward rectifying it, man. So, I mean, I can't root against him anymore. I always, on this show, I felt like I'm not going to refer to him anymore. He doesn't deserve the name. I'm just going to refer to him as a star DP. But he's a player on our team, and I'm definitely not rooting against him. It's so crazy to see how bad his effort has been. So, I mean, like we talk about, man, effort. We need your effort, Chicha. That's all we need from you. And the goals will hopefully come. But a lot of that effort needs to be falling on the front office too now. The ball's in your court. This is your time to shine. So let's see who they bring. Exactly. Let's see who they bring, man.
Yeah, for real.
Donald, before we wrap this up, man, we were both texting on Saturday night about some excitement, not just about the president election that got announced that we finally got a winner on, but it was the AEW Full Gear pay-per-view. Donald, did you check out all of it?
I actually started tuning in. When was it? The first match that I tuned in?
I think it was the Hikaru Shida, Nyla Rose women's title match.
TNT match.
Oh, that's right.
No. I saw the towards the end of it when Darby Allin won it, and I saw that they were about to break his arm off. But
God damn it, I hate the Team Taz there, Brian Cage.
Team Taz, they're such bullies, man. They're like they're definitely like thugs, that's their thing.
I was watching some of it with my father, and I was saying "Que rudo son." That means heels in Spanish, man. I love it. But yeah, you were saying, Donald?
Yeah, no, but it was insane. Man, every time I see Brian Cage, Brian the Machine Cage, I mean, dang, he does look like a machine. It's insane, dude. Like, I always it's my thing with Brian Cage is when he just comes on, I'm just like, dang, he's so big. Like, I can't get over that, every time he's there.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
You
so
gotta check him out on Twitter, man. He still skateboards with all that muscle mass on him, and it's so
dang.
weird to see him skateboard and do like kick flips and what have you. And it's like, dude, how do you not break that board with all that muscle coming down on it?
Yeah. Wow. That's
Yeah,
insane.
he's a massive dude, man.
I gotta see that, man. But
Yeah.
that's where I started watching it. I saw the women's match as well. That was really impressive too. Seeing Hikaru Shida kind of still pull it off with the bum leg that Nyla Rose was working on. I mean, it was really impressive. And it was cool seeing Vicky Guerrero, man. It's always like even though she plays like this heel manager right now, like it's just kind of cool seeing her do her thing and just kind of like still
she's so
keeping it
good
going.
at it.
You know,
so good at being the heel manager.
So yeah, that was really fun to see. But yeah, that was a good match. I think that for being a women's title match, I thought it was really entertaining. Obviously the Young Bucks match, dude, that was wild.
Match of the night for me, man. Young Bucks versus FTR.
Yeah.
I mean, years in the making. I mean, this was the whole reason I had to see this pay-per-view. That was worth the money for me. And it lived up to the hype. I think I was going to text you guys what's great about this is the whole build-up too, is like the Young Bucks had the whole nod to the Lakers with their purple, gold, and black ring gear. And of course, that. FTR, the opposite, green and white gear, like nod to the clip to the Celtics rather, and it's just like perfectly played like anti why they're wrestling against each other, because FTR is very technically sound. I mean, at one point when they were in WWE, they had the shirts that were kind of taking a jab at the Young Bucks. The shirt FTR had when they were referred to as Dash and Dawson, they it said no flips, just fists. Which is like a total jab at the Young Bucks, who are very like high flying and flip. Everything's got to have an extra flip on it. Just add a little, like they'll flip before they even give you a drop kick, just to give it a little oomph, So that's why this was a perfect clash of styles, and it lived up to the hype. I think at one point though, I'm noticing the Young Bucks, being a little bit older now, not being as quick as to do some of those moves they tend to do. So at one point, they're just going to be called the Bucks and not necessarily the Young Bucks. So a part of me was like, man, this is a little bit of a Mayweather-Pacquiao element to it, because like, man, if only we would have gotten this match, 4 years earlier, I'm sure this would have been a real barn burner. So I'm going to give it my Meltzer rating here. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 stars in this. This was definitely the match of the night, but it was 4 out of 5 stars for me because it was still good, and it had so many great nods, and the finish was awesome. But it's just, I mean, like, man, it was good, but I feel like it could have been great had it been just 4 years earlier when they just were better at the top of the game, at their top of their games. Not to say that they still don't have it. I mean, look at Chris Jericho still doing the damn thing, but it's just, it would have been, for what they were trying to accomplish in this match, I feel like 4 years earlier, man, would have been that 5-star, 6-star Tokyo Dome match. For me. What did you think? What did you think of the Matt Hardy, Sammy Guevara, the Elite Deletion match?
The Elite Deletion. Oh man, I thought it was good overall. I don't know, like I guess I was expecting a little bit more on this one.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. Well, okay, so this is the thing with the Young Bucks match being the match of the night, and I agree with you on that. Like, it felt really weird watching the rest of the pay-per-view.
Poor placement, yes.
Yeah, where it felt like the best thing was in the middle. I mean, anything before it was pretty good. Obviously, you get your results and, a couple of title exchanges in here and there. But, but after that, it felt like nothing lived up to it. And I don't know why. I was kind of hoping for something to live up to it. But, this match was okay for me overall. It wasn't like, again, coming off the high from the Young Bucks match and how great that was and how much it lived up to it. To me, I don't know. It just felt like it went a little too long. So, especially for what the ending was. But yeah, I thought it was okay.
I feel like that's kind of the bad thing about AEW. Sometimes they overthink where they place their matches, and it kind of screws up the pace of the whole event, because that's always very important too. So I feel like I don't know why, but I feel like that the Young Bucks match would have been better served as being the co-main event. But I think the reason they didn't do it is because same thing, like whoever had to follow that match would have had a difficult time. So you have to have a bit of a a palate cleanser before the main event, because or else the main event is going to be watered down. Like, oh man, that co-main event was so much better. Like this main event kind of sucks. I mean, that's the way you pace a wrestling show. So I really feel like they should have flipped at least the order of the Elite Deletion match before the Young Bucks match. Then you could have came in and given us the MJF Chris Jericho match, which was also a really good match. And I knew
that was
MJF
a really good one. Yeah,
was going to totally carry Chris Jericho to a good match. Not to say that Chris Jericho can't compete anymore, but just he needs a little help. He's a little bit older. You need that. And and I think I said it to you right away that I love that finish. The whole nod to Eddie Guerrero.
With that was really cool.
MJF getting his his championship ring from AEW that he has, and he was going to hit Jericho with it, but Jericho then gets his bat thrown in from Jake Hager, and as he's about to hit him with it, MJF flips him off, just drops to the floor. And it's like he got hit, and the referee turns around and says, "Hey, did you hit him with it?" No, of course not. Classic Eddie Guerrero style, bait and switch, lie, cheating, and stealing. And then when he's talking to the referee, gets rolled up for the schoolboy win. Oh my God, that was a great way to end that match.
Yeah, that was really good. I like that match a lot. I thought that was really impressive. I mean, even the entrances, man. Again, with the entrances, I thought it was so cool to hear, especially with the crowd back in there, singing the Jericho song, the Fozzy song, Judas. It just felt refreshing to see that again, and I'm sure he felt that too, because he looked like he was very like, oh my gosh, this feels great. I like how he came out with that kind of like that shoulder pack he had on him. It felt like watching the Shredder, from the Ninja Turtles. So that was really cool. Definitely came out like a king, in the group. So that was cool. And then it's funny because MJF also has his own vibe of it with the Burberry like little coat that he wears. The
Burberry scarf.
That Wardlord takes off afterwards. The big old thing that he was wearing, the robe.
The robe with the lights on it. An homage to Chris Jericho. Man. All these things that AEW does is really smart, and everything makes sense. So I really appreciate that, because it's very New Japan style, where there's not many promos. It's all about just matches that make sense. They're wrestling each other because of this. Like, this guy beat this guy on this event, so that's why it logically makes sense for them to have to wrestle each other. Like, everything makes sense, which is after the Jon Moxley Eddie Kingston match, which was another just like what we knew it was going to be, like this whole just brawl, and it lived up to that hype. And I enjoyed it as a really solid main event. We talked about, we knew maybe Eddie Kingston wasn't going to win, but it made us believe. We bought into it because of the storytelling, these guys have legitimate animosity toward each other because they were really close friends, and now they're like bitter rivals now. Eddie has a chip on his shoulder, but Jon Moxley always has a chip on his shoulder just from being where he was. And at the end of that match, what happens is Kenny Omega comes out and just, hey, don't forget, we have a match coming up, because Kenny Omega beat Adam Hangman Page to become number one contender. So it's just like, that's that perfect storytelling that AEW is doing. Like, this is why these guys are wrestling. Yes, they have this, storyline rivalry, but it logically makes sense because of the matches that are winning. That's why they have those win-loss records, which I enjoy too, man. Like, that's a great little touch that AEW puts on there. Like, I don't know, you missed it probably in the beginning of the Darby Allin Cody Rhodes match. It said Darby Allin was on a 6-match winning streak. So like, no, so that means Darby Allin's on a hot streak right now. It's like all these things are kind of making sense, which is why he beat Cody Rhodes, right? He's on a hot streak right now to win matches. So it's just, these are fun little touches that wrestling, we know, is a predetermined win-loss sport, but they still treat it like a sport, which is what we want at the end of the day. We're sports fans, but we want a little bit of entertainment, sports entertainment. See what I did there? So that's why it's fun. That's why it's fun, dude. Donald, right?
Yeah, no, exactly, dude. I loved it. And, going back to this main event match, I thought, for as kind of like out of all of them, obviously this one, a little bit more violent than you're kind of like used to if you just watch regular AEW on a Wednesday night.
Right.
But I know that AEW Twitter was in a weird way going crazy for that part where after Eddie Kingston puts Moxley through the all the little thumbtacks that like that he spills alcohol on his back. I was like,
yeah.
I mean, it's kind of interesting because it's such a like the visual, like the thought of doing that to somebody is really like oh man, this is really dark. But obviously when you see it happen, it's like so sickening. But like when you see it happen, it doesn't look that bad. But at the same time, just the fact that like you can only imagine what this would feel like if this happened to you.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I think that when they do stuff like that is pretty creative because in a weird way, they're not getting too gory or too violent. It's almost like they're messing with your head as a viewer of this whole thing and like it making you think a lot more crazy. And like you said, the storyline was great. I mean, I was bought in on the whole, I know your family, my family thing and, we've been friends and, even
the referee involved. Yes.
Yeah.
The referee involved knows their family too. Like, everything.
Everything was great, like, I had your back and this and that. And I thought it was great. And both those fighters, they definitely, they knew how to mix the whole, like, we're street fighters, but we're doing wrestling and kind of combining all that. And I thought that was really great. So I thought as far as the matchup goes, I thought it was a great matchup. I thought that the storyline, the storytelling, everything that led up to it was great. I was so believable. But yeah, I think this was one of those where you can kind of take a page of how you're supposed to build up the rivalry to the main event. And really great. I liked it. I thought that was a really good match to end on with the on that pay-per-view.
Perfectly. Yeah, you're right. AEW Dynamite airs on TNT. Check it out if you want to check out some more pro wrestling, just to get a break from the craziness of the world that we're living in with COVID and, election talk, because that's finally over. But you're still going to hear plenty of that, as the months go on. Trust me, it's over, but not really over. So as we talked about last week, Donald, wrestling is just a fun escape for a while.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's really cool. And I think that they do everything they can to make it entertaining and kind of like distracting as much as possible so that you're not thinking about other stuff that would probably get you more depressed. So, yeah.
Totally. And hopefully another fun distraction that takes away your depression is listening to West Box Score. That's it for us this week. Donald, thanks again for stopping by and spending some time with me talking about all the great sports. Donald, thanks a lot.
Yeah, man. You're welcome, brother. Good to talk to you again, man. And always love enjoying chatting with you, man. It's always fun doing these things, dude.
Same, man. And be sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter at Westbox Score. Subscribe, rate, and review Westbox Score on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you download your podcast. Next week, we'll be talking more about the NFL season that's going on, the MLS playoffs. So check us out next week, maybe next time with Sunny and Mano. So for Donald Paz, I'm Alex Gonzalez saying, see ya.
Later.